And you think about beyond that, or actually beyond that, but within that, there are groups. You think about you and your immediate friends. You may be in a culture in this town, but you and your small group of friends are probably even separated out of that, aren't they? A little bit. And you've got your own little, we call them cliques maybe, but kind of culture, subculture. And what's funny in your little subculture may not be funny to everybody else, right? Those little inside jokes and those types of things where you laugh and everybody else is like, okay, that wasn't funny at all. Somebody says tennis shoe and you all die laughing and everybody else is like, that's just a tennis shoe. It's not that funny. These inside jokes. That's culture. Ethnic is a little different, isn't it? Ethnic, it really is close. It really is ties in with culture. But ethnic, we think about people who are like, I hate to use it, but let me give this example after I give you. I'm going to give something away if I tell this. But if you can offend an audience very easily. Let's say I said to you, man, I was at the store the other day, and I know that I got gypped. Anybody ever say that? Raise your hand if you ever said that. Yeah. I said it. My family, people in my subculture where I grew up, normal terminology. Y'all ever heard this before?
I don't say it. It's kind of
okay. Right.
I used to say that when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean it's not cool anymore. I wouldn't say it now. I'm saying, but ethnically, I could really offend somebody with this. Anybody know why this could be offensive?
So Jewish.
Okay, close. Egyptian. Okay, you guys are right there on top. It's gypsy people. It's a slang term against gypsy people who were known to, no matter how you dealt with them in a business deal, they were very shrewd. They always came out ahead somehow. And you always wondered, did I get taken advantage of? And this is historically the case. It may not be the case anymore. However, if you have somebody in your audience, small chance, who has a gypsy background from culture, maybe like in Ukraine, different places like that, you say, well, I got gypped, and you move on. All of a sudden, you've done what? You've alienated yourself using egocentrism. You're not identifying with them. You're separating yourself. You have to be careful what you say. People with different ethnic, cultural backgrounds can be very, very offensive without even realizing it, right? Be careful what goes into based on your audience. Of course, religion we know is important, basing what you say and how you say it. And group membership, that gets into stuff like NRA. If you're a member of the National Rifle Association, and I'm speaking to an audience of NRA members, what should I probably not say?
Anything about that?
Gun control, right? Right, unless it's a no-brainer. However, I have to do the audience analysis ahead of time, right? You all see how this is very important? Not offend. And that's demographics. Let's look here. Talk about stereotyping. Let's look at situational audience analysis. This switches things a little bit. Not so much who makes up the audience, but more of the logistics around the audience in situational analysis. The size of the building, size of the room where you're going to be speaking makes a difference. How would that change? How would that affect your presentation? How loudly? Oh, okay, good. What kind of eye contact do you have to give? Yeah. This is one of the best tips I can give you the whole semester right here, so make sure you get this. Anytime you think or know you have to speak somewhere, if you can, days in advance or just 30 minutes in advance, whatever you can do, go to the place where you have to speak when no one is there and just stand there. Become familiar with what space you have. Look out over the emptiness where people will be sitting when you speak, so that as you practice, in all those hours of practicing, going over and over it, you can imagine in your mind what it is going to look like. How will it feel? What will it be like to be in this room, looking out over this distance, all these people? So you can, as you practice, you see yourself there, and you imagine yourself walking across that stage, standing at a podium, moving around, whatever it is. You imagine this, so that when it comes time to actually speak to this audience, it's like you've already done it before. I've done this before in my mind. I know I can do this. You're just acting out what you've practiced in your mind numerous times. This is a great tip. I do this. Sometimes it has to be last second, right before I go speak, but if I can just kind of stand there for a second and kind of get a feel for it, it does help. It makes a difference. If I can know about what it looks like, It really helps. So the size of the audience makes a difference. If it's a big group, I have to hold my head up, right? I have to project a little bit more. Look out over this audience. But if it's a small room, let's say in a library, I have to be quieter. I might be seated. I might even be able to move around a little bit, right? Within my audience. Movement, it can be very powerful. We'll talk about this later on, but I can move around. I can make more eye contact, direct eye contact with people, right? Which pulls people in. So the size of your audience, the size of the setting makes a big difference. In the physical setting, we already talked about that. Okay, these three are very important. The disposition of your audience, disposition is kind of their attitude, the way they feel about this. The topic, which is what you choose, the speaker, which is you, and the occasion surrounding this situation. So think, well, that's not really important, is it? Well, let's think, so you all are in college because in part you want to get a really good job, right? Yeah. A really good job might mean that one day you are in a leadership position of some kind with other people around you. Well, let's say this has been a very real situation here in the past 6 months or a year. That economic downturn in our culture, in our country here. And because of that, you find yourself as a manager over 200 people. And it's going really well. However, stock value falls, people are losing jobs, things are looking really bad. The owner of the company calls you and says, "Look, Jackie, we've got to cut our workforce in half this week." Is that a phone call you want to get? No. Fortunately, you get to keep your job. However, you found yourself in a position that's not real positive, right? So you have to know that going in. And I know that you all have common sense enough to handle this appropriately, but you have to think ahead of time before you go into a situation to make this announcement. People are not oblivious to what's going on. People in a situation like that are aware that there's a chance they may lose their job. Every other company is losing their job, right? So when we haven't lost any jobs here, there's a buzz going around in this place that we may be losing some jobs too. So they're a little tense already, right? So this occasion, Jackie says, well, I need to call a meeting of everybody. You think, oh, here it comes. So they come into this meeting, they're already frustrated, right? Already upset. They like you. However, in this situation, you have to realize you're the bearer of bad news, right? And this topic is definitely something they don't want to touch. They don't want to touch because it's bad news. So you can't come into a situation like that saying, hey, 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 you know, and real happy, smiley face saying, guess what?
You're fired.
Yeah. you. Yeah, no, you have to come in, and it's a solemn situation, right? It's a very sobering situation. These are breadwinners for their family, about to lose their job. This is common sense. They're going to be upset with you. You all have seen in political campaigns when, well, let's go back to this last election. How would you like to have been Barack Obama when, close to the election, in those Democratic Party conventions they would have? You know, everybody's screaming and throwing stuff and all. How would you like to have been him to walk out on that stage? Wouldn't that be cool? Everybody's chanting your name, and it doesn't matter what you say in those situations. It doesn't matter. I'm serious. It does not matter what you say. You could say, I stubbed my toe today. They're going crazy, right? That's a great situation. They have a great disposition toward the whole thing. Now imagine, same situation, Democratic Party convention, John McCain were to walk out. What's the audience do? They're actually throwing things at him, right? They're not just throwing things up in the air, throwing things at him. Now, he could say he has the most beautifully crafted speech and say anything to them. Are they going to like it? No. It's interesting, isn't it? This position of the audience is important. You must know that before you go in. And realize you don't want to be caught off guard by an upset audience. So it's good to know. These are situational audience analysis. Now, to think about audience, we're going to look here in a few minutes at choosing a topic. And then we'll see how this all ties in together. Let's take a break here and give you all an impromptu topic.